left unsaid. Days that can't be counted by the time till rent. Tomorrow's just another like the one that comes next. The corner of the highway that leads to the job, at the desk by the boss with the elegant watch. The tick of the clock and the tick of the clock mark the moments till the ticking stops.
My guest today is Leslie John, who is the James E. Burke Professor of Business Administration at Harvard Business School. Her award-winning research appears in top academic journals and media, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and The Economist. Prior to her academic career, she was an internationally trained ballet dancer. Her new book is called Revealing: The Underrated Power of Oversharing. You're going to enjoy this pod. Leslie John, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kelly. I mean, we have so many mutual friends. I can't believe we haven't actually met. Someday we'll meet in the flesh, but this is
Yeah, no, and of course I'm reading this book, and how I gauge how into a book I am is how much I'm annoying my wife because I'm reading her passages. So she's like, just let me read the book. But here's where I want to start. I thought about this a lot. Here's where I want to start the conversation. I'm going to tell you a personal story, true story about my life, and then you can tell me the science behind what happened in this story.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
So it's 2001. And I got invited to go to a very rich person's house for a fundraiser for Rahm Emanuel, who was then running for Congress. It was almost all very wealthy people. I am not. But I was probably invited because I had this cool job running Second City at the time. I only knew a few people, and I find myself in a corner next to a woman who also seems slightly out of place. She asked me how I found myself at this event, and I said something like, well, it's not because I have money, but I did hire Stephen Colbert and Tina Fey at Second City, and Rahm knows to call me when he wants free tickets to Second City. And she comes back with, well, I can tell you that I'm the only Republican at this event. And we go on to have this very rich and funny conversation. It's raining. I have an umbrella. She doesn't. I walk her back to her apartment, which is actually kind of near Second City. And this becomes my friend Sean, who I literally have had lunch with once a year, every single year since this meeting. We don't do business together. We don't socialize. We have lunch every year, and we share everything that's important to us in our lives.
Amazing.
And that's gone on since 2001.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I love that so much. So now
there's
it's
science
like no
to that,
pressure, LJ.
right?
Analyze it. Yeah, I mean, I think that this feels a little bit like this strangers on a plane phenomenon where, you have that phenomenon of, oh, I've had it, I've done it, I've been on the receiving end. You're sitting on the plane and you just find yourself completely opening up to the stranger sitting next to you. And I think part of it is, it's this freedom that that you're probably never going to see this person again. So what's the risk, right? And I mean, maybe it's also in the plane situation, partly driven by, this is to get dark, but this kind of maybe belief that if you crash, they'll take your secrets to the grave. But,
Sure.
but sorry, I went way dark there. But so it feels, so it's like a little bit, there's this person, you're in this place, this fancy place that there's kind of, you don't have any established norms. And then you meet this person and you're both kind of outsiders and you kind of go in very different circles. So in the back of your mind, you're like, well, what the heck? I'm never going to see them. But then maybe there's also this feeling or need to bond with the person because you feel like outsiders. So you kind of want to connect in a way, right? Maybe you weren't overtly conscious about it. I'm sure I'm overanalyzing this, but as you know, that's what we do.
Nope,
and it's fun to analyze. But but then you found yourself surprised that you really hit it off, and then you want to see the person again, which I think is the beauty of it. It's like it starts off as this thing that's like, oh, what the heck? And maybe you shared more than you normally would, right? Because it's so low risk because you're never going to see them again. But then by virtue of having shared, you actually then realized, oh, that this is amazing. There's a connection. And I think and then you keep seeing her and once a year. And I think you've really hit on something key there, because when we decide what to reveal, to the extent we're even thinking about it, to the extent we're even thinking about the possibility of opening up, which we don't think about often enough. We don't consider opening up often enough. But when we do think about whether to say the thing, we often hold back because the number one thing we think about is the risk of revealing. Like, oh no, I'm going to say too much. It's going to be cringy. I'm going to ruminate. And so, so it's like thinking that you're never going to see the person again removes that anxiety. It's interesting though, because once it's gone, you see it's actually not so risky at all. And you made something really beautiful.
It's such an improv thing, right? And this is, we were talking before we jumped on about the work that we did at the University of Chicago with Nick Epley and his work on self-disclosure. And improv was a natural device by which we could create bespoke exercises to teach people what it was like just to self-disclose a little bit. And that's how you form connection. And we know this from improvisation because when you're initiating a scene or you're the receiving end, we call it a gift, when you're given a gift.
I love it.
And you yes and that gift. And what you're slowly building is a rapport to make something out of nothing, which is what we're all doing every day. And I was talking to Anne about this when I was reading the book, because she does a thing when she's teaching improv, especially early stage improvisers, like our college program, where she says to them, if they're not improvising well, she's like, try improvising with real things from your life. And inevitably that makes the improvisation much better, much more interesting, much more true. And so we're practicing what it's like to share and build together, and you scale it together too, right? We talk about that, which is that's how this works in a very pro-social way. Now look, I think it was Nir Eyal who said it's not a superpower unless it can be used for evil. So con men use this stuff all the time, right?
Right. Totally. Yeah, that's exactly, we're on the same brainwave, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking of that. Gosh, I watch too much. We have small children, so that's like what we do when we're exhausted at night. Put the kids to bed and watch Netflix. So there's this show. Who's that brilliant actor from the Breaking Bad? I forget.
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston.
So there's this show, and he basically, his kid does something really bad. Like, I think he might have inadvertently killed someone or something. And the kid needs to have, like, so he's going to lie about it, but he needs an alibi. And the way he says to make the alibi is, we have to do the thing. We have to like go to the store where we said we were or something, right? Like, you need to go through, and it has to be, it's easier to lie if it's based on something real, is the dark side, right? But the beautiful thing about the improv that you're saying is, if someone's struggling, you say, start from something from your own life. And do you say to them, like, do you say a funny moment, or is it like just something real? It's not, it's like, you don't try to be funny, right? Yeah. I love it.
It's just it's recognizable, right? So like, because people, when you are laughing at something, is because you recognize something as being true for you in some way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be absolutely true. It's just it's just something from your life. All right. So we have many heroes and villains in the Second City Getting the SM podcast. Chief villain is Milton Friedman. I'm just not a fan. But one of the heroes is Mr. Goffman. That
love, amazing.
Whose work I love. And then, of course, you introduce us to this fellow,
right?
And let's talk about them, because my understanding knows a bit about Goffman, but not about the other guy.
That's awesome that you have the other guy's book, because it's hard to get it.
It is hard to get. It was expensive. That paperback was expensive. Tell us about them.
Okay, so I know, it's like you can't make this strange. What is the saying? The truth is stranger than fiction. So there's these two guys. They're both Canadian, which we often don't realize as a Canadian. Although I did just become American, so I'm both. But so Goffman is a famous sociologist figure who, the key thing that he contributed is the understanding of impression management, and how we have kind of this front stage and this backstage. And then there's the other character, Sidney Girard, who is, I think, just his ideas were just as important, but for some reason he's not as famous. And his point was kind of the opposite, which is that we need to be more open. It's okay to let the backstage show front stage, essentially, show more of ourselves. And they were both right, but in different ways, right? It's really
Hmm.
important to make an impression and to kind of be reserved and guarded and be careful about what you say and not reveal too much in many situations. But what Goffman got wrong, Gerard got right, and vice versa. And one of the things, and so then I became fascinated with imagining. In the book I get a little bit carried away, but like, what if they had met, and what would the
Yeah.
conversation have been like, and their personalities. And it was interesting because as I learned more about them, there's this saying, all research is research, and I think it couldn't have been
Yeah.
more true. Like Goffman, he was so guarded in real life, and he was known to not allow people to take photos of him. And the lore is that when he was defending his PhD, this rite of passage slash hazing ritual in academia, you stand in front of a tribunal, it seems, of very fancy professors, and they ask you really hard questions. And a single bead of sweat dripped down his face, and apparently he didn't even flinch. um,
Wow.
and then there's Gerard, who he couldn't even lie well because he was just so
Hmm.
open. And he would give lectures barefoot down in the University of Florida, where he spent most of his academic life. And it was really fascinating because I also learned that Gerard, he had this yellow convertible. A Triumph is the name of the car, old school. Um, and he would drive it top down. And I just think that that's such a metaphor for how he was in the world. He died really young. He died at 48. Ironically, he was underneath his Triumph and fixing the he was like like he's underneath the car, and then it gave way on him. What a
Hmm.
horrible death. But it's also related to revealing these decisions we make about what to reveal and what not to reveal, his life and how he died. Because when he died, his mother was actually in the hospital. She was elderly and dying, and his family had to decide, do we tell her that her son has died? Like, what a gut wrenching, I mean, I don't even have the words to say it, that kind of decision, whether to tell the mother. And so they ended up not telling her. She did die a few days later. Was it the right call, the wrong call? I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's just gut wrenching, right? These decisions.
So this is later in the book,
Hmm.
and it really tested me. The story about Paul.
Oh yeah. Wow. Jeez.
It that was believe me, I went around the office and told people that story, and it was kind of 50-50 in terms of what people were like,
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
or not tell. So
Yeah.
tell us that story, and then we can discuss all the different elements of it.
Yeah. The angle's right. Okay. So Paul is one of, wait, now I'm going to get it wrong. One of 11, one of 12.
11 or 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's 11 or 12. So the reason I'm getting, not remembering that is because he's the youngest, and one of his oldest siblings, who he never met, died when he was a baby. Like the brother died when Paul Paul was not alive yet, not born yet. And so Paul, it was already always there was always some mystery around Stephen, around his death. And nobody, when he talked to his mom, when he asked his mother whatever happened to Stephen, and she just kind of always gave a bit of an unsatisfying answer and brushed him off. And so Paul, as the youngest, and he's kind of the family librarian or family, historian. He really, really wanted to know what happened to Stephen, what really happened. And he found out. He was in the middle of COVID, and he was going through old newspapers, and he had this kind of Poirot moment, that famous detective, where he had this aha, and he was looking at found an old newspaper of the couple days after Stephen had died, and it was in the newspaper, and he learned that his brother Stephen died because he was scalded.
I do this in my life all the time, and it actually has turned out to be a benefit where I wasn't sure. And so I do a lot of public speaking, and obviously I host this podcast. And one of the things I talk about a lot is my wife and I lost our daughter Nora to cancer when she was 17. So that was 8 years ago. And I do it for a number of reasons. One is it's a very important fact of my life.
100%.
It has informed who I am. It informs why I do certain things.
Yeah.
I have killer Nora stories. I like to invoke her memory. I miss her. And also what I've discovered over time is there's many people who this has happened to, and no one talks about it.
Yeah.
And I gave a talk at Northwestern last year at Kellogg, and I got finished with my talk. I had talked about Nora, and the photographer came over to me, tears in her eyes, and hugged me. And she's like, I lost my daughter too, same age, and no one talks about it. And I just felt like, no, we should talk about it. And, it's, and so when I was thinking about Paul, which is a very different thing, right? I think most people can understand. But in some ways, and I think about other aspects of my life that like, I want to know. For the most part, I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. Like if we don't talk about these things, then it's more anomalous and it's harder to cope, right? I mean, so my husband's brother passed away tragically when he was in his early 20s, and so I never knew his brother. And my husband, he's been to a lot of therapy, and he's really, he's gotten through it. It's nothing. It's like you never get over it, but you get through it, I think. But my husband's his father is now passed, but they never went to therapy. And I know it's not that you need to go to therapy, but it always feels like it has not been processed. And I think you're exactly right. You like talking about it is really, really important. And I think, part of what Paul faced was the perseveration of feeling like you have a secret, right? And that's really, really preoccupying. And, he all of a sudden had this secret from his brother. He also had a very unique situation where his brother said he wanted to know, but in a way that, so he had said in passing, hey, if you ever find anything out, right? Yeah. But then it's like one thing to, and so as I tell the story in the book, Paul went to enormous lengths to try to figure out, well, if it's like you can't ask someone, if you were responsible, would you want to know, right? Because it's a paradox. But he really went through this elaborate procedure to really try to simulate that, to figure out if he really truly wanted to know. And then he did get his answer that he really did want to know, or a part of him knew it would be beneficial. And then he told him, and it actually,
and it was okay.
It was okay. Yeah.
And opened up stuff for the rest of the family.
Exactly. Right. It opened up stuff, and it led to so many good things, which is so hard to imagine in prospect, right? Like, how can good become of something so horrible that you would never wish on your worst enemy, even Milton Friedman? So
I don't wish any ill will towards Milton Friedman or his descendants. I just don't like his ideas.
100% preach. Yes. Yeah, I just, what was I was going to say? I lost my train of thought because this is just so important and moving. But, oh, the other thing about like, one thing I was thinking is like another area, not to equate the two at all, but something that is difficult for people obviously is pregnancy loss. And, I always feel like it's so, the time when you feel the shittiest and you may need the most support if you happen to lose the pregnancy, is like shrouded in secrecy and mystery, right? Like, and I'm pleased, I don't know if that's the right word, but that people are starting to talk more about it, and then you feel less alone if you've experienced it.
There was this moment at Lurie Children's Hospital. Nora was in, and we still didn't know. This is a point where it's like she could live, this could work.
Did you say she was
And
17 or it was 17 years ago?
yeah, she got diagnosed when she was 16, and she passed just like a couple weeks after her 17th birthday. So
Gosh.
it was pretty quick, and it was like 8 years ago that she passed, or that she got diagnosed actually. Um, so we were in the hospital, and in the room next door, I ran into the dad in the little like nook where the refrigerator is and you can get food, and we just started chatting. And it turns out that their teenage son had he thought he'd beaten it, and it came back. The cancer came back, but this time the son didn't want anyone to know.
Interesting.
And this remains for me one of the most upsetting moments, because I realized, well, they were honoring his wish, but in doing so, they were taking on that silence, which was not good.
Right.
It's not good.
No.
And one of my favorite films of all time is Mike Leigh's Secrets and Lies.
I haven't seen that. It's brutal.
Oh my God!
I gotta see it. Okay, I'm writing it down.
And the title is The Thing. Is she and Lee, he improvises. So what he does is he does not send out the full script. He sends out character composites to the actors. They improvise a bit, and then they do have scripts, but there's other stuff that is not revealed to them. And so the lie or the secret that gets revealed in the moment is news to that character, and it is like just a profound moment. And it's like and I'm sure there are areas that I don't want to know. Like that there's. I'm sure there are, but I think they are so in the minority.
Yeah.
And that's not how we're programmed.
Yeah. I mean, I think like I'm trying to think of something where I wouldn't. I think like I don't know if this would be a popular opinion. It's never good to start a sentence like that, but I think if my husband cheated on me and it was like a mistake that was completely meaningless, it was completely meaningless, and it wasn't like a symptom of some problem in our marriage, I think that I wouldn't want to know. But the thing,
interesting. I thought you were going to go the other way.
No, because I was trying to think of like what is something that true, because I'm with you, like openness, we're overshare, but I think but then when I psychoanalyze it further, I think, but is it really possible for it to truly be a mistake? Like there must be something if you're going to do that, like, I don't know, if you're on a lot of drugs or something, I don't know, but then it's like, why are you on a lot of drugs? Like that's a problem. But that's one thing that maybe, I don't know. Can you?
Well, it's funny. So I just finished Paul Eastwick's book, Bonded by Evolution.
Oh yeah, I really want to read that.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Awesome. And one of the things is sort of like, monogamy, that's a thing and not a thing for certain groups. And we want to think there's this one truth. It's basically breaking the whole evolution idea as applied to relationships, saying that's not it. There's,
like monogamy is not like evolutionarily. Well, no, because you want to spread the seed.
Yeah.
We're tribe creatures. Like we need. Yeah.
But and even more so, we have these romanticized ideas about what a relationship should be, and I think for most people who have been a part of, if they have, or the opposite, they see it too, is like, no. There's a lot of management going on inside these relationships, and staying curious and tending to. It's work. It's actual work
in monogamy.
And when you make any relationship, to keep it going. Well, it seems to me there's another secret that gets revealed, and it's this character that you talk about, Jennifer, in the book. Should we talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. I do want to talk about that, but can I just ask you? I wanted to ask you a question about.
Go ahead.
So when you talk about your daughter, when you say it to someone, who doesn't know, like, what is the best way for them to receive it? I never know what to say when someone's like, tells me something. I mean, I guess I could do studies. I have intuitions, but like, what is most helpful What is, and it's probably changed over time too.
There's not one.
Mm.
And I can think of a variety of ways, which is, I mean, ultimately we all want to be seen. So I kind of, this is an interesting thing that Anne said after the first year after Nora died. Anne said, now I understand mourning clothes.
Oh, wow. Yes, because you don't have to say it. It's advertised. Is that right?
Just know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so for
Yeah.
people who don't know, and
Yeah.
it's Mourning, this was a thing, and you
Yeah.
would wear
Yeah.
a certain kind of morning clothes, and those clothes would
Yeah.
change.
Black and
uh,
then lavender, right? Yeah.
so yes, the farther you got away from the event, so
Yeah.
people would just know that like a thing
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
So that would be the easiest. Okay,
Love
but
it.
we
Yeah.
don't have morning clothes.
Yeah.
So what your eyes did what I want your eyes to do when I just told you.
Huh. Say more.
It made you sad. You saw that. You sat with me and let me told my story. You didn't feel the need to like totally jump in, though jumping in would have been fine. I've had everything from people touch the screen,
Oh,
if I'm on a Zoom
I
call,
love that.
so they just do
Beautiful.
that thing. I've had other people like, can I take a moment with you?
Yeah.
And all those things are useful and good.
Mhm.
The only thing I can think of that I didn't like was when people sent me like books that were about the afterlife, and that they're
Oh, wow.
not science books, like woo woo books that were
Yeah.
sort of like she's still here,
Your spirit.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like that. I like that.
Mm.
I don't. I'm throwing this book out.
Yeah.
But when someone sent me grief poems, great.
Huh.
That was actually really,
Huh.
poetry was a very big thing for me in terms of my grief stage.
Wow. Yeah.
And then you mentioned therapy before. I would not be sitting here talking to you like I'm talking to you right now had
Yeah.
I not had really amazing
Yeah.
therapy
Yeah.
to integrate this into
Yeah.
myself ongoing.
Yeah. Completely.
And here's a simple truth, which is I think I'm a better person for having gone through this.
Wow. I mean, that is self-actualization there. That's growth, right? Like it's
I
not
mean,
the
it's
same thing as like you obviously would never wish it on anyone, or you
no.
if you could hold back time, if you could control it, if you could make it not happen in a heartbeat, you would, but the
Yep.
growth, right? That's
Yeah. Post-traumatic growth. And
Mhm.
and you kind of got one or two choices on this stuff,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that, so many marriages don't survive this sort of thing. I remember a friend of mine telling me that after their sibling died, their parents took down every photograph and never mentioned him again.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God. And here's something that I actually haven't talked about on here, which is like, we haven't cleaned out her room. Her room is still all the stuff that's left in it.
Wow. Do you ever go in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I realized it's really cold here, and I was like, I bet Nora stole some of my wool socks because I don't.
Oh.
I found them.
Oh.
I found a bunch of my wool socks that she stole, and it was fun. It was funny to me. Now
Oh, that's lovely.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
now we need to. It's not a shrine. It's
Yeah.
not. It's just we just haven't done it.
Yeah.
And we will. We don't need the extra room.
Do you
Like
need to though?
whatever.
Like, is it important? If it feels important to you, then you need to.
I am. It's funny. I've got to talk to Anne about it. Like, I think I'm maybe more. I would do it. I would be the person to do it. Like, this is these are the things I do in our marriage, things like this.
Yeah.
So I just have to check in with my wife and be like, "Are you cool if I do this, or what do you want to keep?" But this is another thing too, because it's like we're we're both in our. Well, I'm turning 60. So we're kind of in our 60s, and
Yeah.
we're empty nesters.
Yeah.
Our son's down in Atlanta, and we got this house with all this stuff, and I'm like, we're not taking it with us.
Yeah.
And the only person who would have wanted all of it is Nora. Nick doesn't want any of it. So
Yeah.
yes, my kids are Nick and Nora.
I love that.
So yeah,
I mean, and how do you even decide what to keep and what to?
I don't see that's also part of the thing of why I'm not doing it, because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, it was like, yeah, it's but then
Yeah.
there's a park named after her that's outside her old school
Beautiful.
that we can drive by, and it literally was on the way to therapy. It was between my house and the therapist's office.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
those rituals all
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah. 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 Rituals, right? They're comforting.
So
Yeah.
tell us about
Okay.
Jennifer.
So Jennifer. Oh, and one little tidbit. So my brother and I have two brothers. One of them is hugely into therapy like I am, and the other one is not. He probably.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love them obviously with you. They're just different people. But the one that loves the therapy, when we send each other random texts, like every few weeks we'll get a text, therapy rules. We have like whenever we have a really good session, we just text each other therapy rules.
Great.
But okay, so Jennifer, yes, I feel like now I'm even dodging that, I know, but it's so good talking to you about this stuff. But yeah, so Jennifer, there's a story in the book about Jennifer. And Jennifer, well, I mean, Jennifer's me. Spoiler alert. Like I can't. But
Yeah, that's you.
so the thing is, like, I was writing the book, and writing the book was just so, I don't know if you've experienced this in your writing, but like you realize, okay, behavioral science is informative in many ways, but like to bring it to life, you need a story. And I was really lucky that I worked with some really amazing developmental editors, one of whom was a memoir writer. I didn't intentionally think I need a memoir writer, but we just clicked. And then it was so perfect because she would keep saying like, cut the study, add a story. And now I see that her imprints are all over the book because she's a memoir writer. And anyway, so as I was thinking about a story. I need a story about something that someone undershared, and then it affected them consequentially. But then they like found out that it was undershared. It was like this very like specific thing.
Yeah.
And then I woke up literally in the middle of the night, and I'm like, oh my god, this is me. I have this story. It's in me. And this is crazy because I've been spending 4 years writing this book on undersharing, and me like kind of self-professed overshare, fancying myself as an overshare with, lots of self-deprecating, embarrassing stories in the book. You're welcome. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, even me, I'm writing a freaking book. And even me, I am undersharing because I realized I kind of like the performative aspect of oversharing in a way because it's fun. But when it came to the really deep, important stuff, I was holding back, specifically that I had this secret that I had been keeping for 10 years. 10 years that I knew this thing about my mom that really affected me, and she didn't know that I knew. And it forced me, as I was writing the book, I thought, well, like, I'm a hypocrite. Like, if I really believe what I'm saying in this book, I have to tell her, I have to have a conversation with her. So I sat down and I told her and how it affected me. And it was one of the most meaningful conversations I've ever had with anyone. And again, it was one of those things that I'm like, oh my God, I'm dreading this. And then I understand her like I never have before. And then I thought I wasn't going to put it in the book, but then it was so moving. And I thought this is just such a compelling way to say this. Like me, the Harvard professor that studies this made the mistake. Like, so then there was a whole series of conversations about mom, like, I don't know, is it okay to share this in the book? Like, it's so meta. Is it too much? And we had a lot of conversations about it. And then in the end, she's like, I'm 75. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Let's do it.
So you, because you needed her permission.
Of course. I mean,
yeah.
Well, it's funny because when and I know I'm like not saying what it is. I'm happy to tell you what it is. I don't know what level you want to go to, but
so you should say what it is.
Okay, I'll say what it is. Before I say what it is, I know everyone's like, oh my God, what is it? But so I wrote it, and the way I wrote it up was Jennifer and Donna, like it was not me. And I sent it to my boss editor at the publisher, who was amazing. Courtney Young is her name, and she's also Canadian. And she said to me, she called me up, she's like, is this you? Because there is so much insight into the internal state that. And then I said, well, yeah, you got me. It's me. And then she's like, you either have to massively shorten it or if you keep it this long, you have to say it's you, because otherwise it will be confusing to the reader. Like, how is this made up? How does the writer Leslie have such insight into this person's state? So then that was a series of conversations about whether I should write it, and that's how it ended up. It was very meta. Okay, so what happened was, when I was before I married my first husband, the month before, I had really serious second thoughts. And because he was my best friend, I loved him so much, but I guess it was more like the physical stuff wasn't as, I don't know, heated or pronounced or whatever. But he was a wonderful person and I loved him. But before, I know, it's like right before the decision, this is got to be some psychological effect, right? Right before it's like a final thing, you're like, oh my God. And so I was having second thoughts. And so I called my mom and I told her, and she said, she was very kind and comforting and understanding. And she said, I just want I'm your mom. I just want what's best for you. And she said, it's funny though, because for me, before I married your father, I had second thoughts too. And I'm so glad I went through with it because, look at how happy we are. And they have a wonderful marriage. I had a wonderful childhood, model relationship. And she said, you already have the mature kind of love, this like infatuation stuff. It goes away, and you already have the mature love. And so I always felt like really calmed by that. And so I went ahead. I'm like, this is great. And then it was not so great, and I ended up divorced. And then when I was the kind of dust had settled from the divorce, and I was sitting in my bachelorette pad and drinking coffee in the morning, and I get an email from my brother, the one that also loves therapy, and he's like, Les, check this out. And what happened as the email, was, hey boomer, the old adding someone to an email chain. My parents, it was started as an email just between the two of them. And then they were switched topics, and it involved my brother. And so my mom added my brother to the chain. And so my brother looks at the very beginning, which was start as intimate conversation with my mom and my dad. And it was about my mom and my dad talking about how my mom was going to a lover's house. And it's like, you can't unknow this, right? It's so unusual, to say the least. But it was like, clearly it was mutual. Like the two of them were talking about it together. It wasn't like a problem. There was no conflict. It was just like, if anything, it was like alluring between the two of them, which again is like, and so I just filled with rage because what I immediately went back to was this conversation that I'd found so calming, that she had only shared part of the truth, right? She had undershared, and it would have been better for her to have said nothing at all than for her to have told me half the truth, right? She didn't tell me that in her marriage, the way they make it work is they have a unconventional, which I don't know how unconventional it is really, right? But I knew that this is not what I want, and I'm happy for them, right? Like whatever works as long as people are happy and safe. But I really felt like this had changed the course of my life. And I was really angry about it. Now, then but I never told her that I knew this for 10 years until I was writing the book. And, over time the rage faded, and I found my Prince Charming. I know that sounds cheesy, but I found an amazing person, so much so that now I'm actually, psychology is weird, right? I'm grateful for my first marriage because I never would have, I never would be where I am now. And so it's all fine. And really, like, it was my decision to marry. But what was my mom supposed to do? It's the month before the wedding. Like, she's just trying to help.
Right.
So then I sat down with her and I said, when I was writing the book, when I'm like, I have to tell you that I know this. And I said, Mom, do you remember that phone call before my first marriage? And she's just said, yeah, I do. And I often wonder if I said the right thing. And it was just like, then like time stood still for an hour and a half as we had this, we talked a lot. We talked about that and feelings and everything, but then we went so much further and again, to your point about how you then have other topics that you grow from, and it ends up being such a really life-changing conversation. So one of the things we talked about was we talked about love and how we experience love, and one of the things I shared with her was that when I had my first baby and they put the baby on your chest, I didn't feel love. I felt responsibility. I felt curiosity. I felt fascination. I felt awe and wonderment. But you know how many mothers, I don't know, most, I don't know, they feel that love, and I didn't feel it. I felt I just don't know this person, and I really want to get to know you. But I've always felt a bit ashamed about that because I'm like, you're supposed to love from day
Yeah.
one. And my mom said, I felt the same way. It was the same with me. And she's such a loving mom, and I'm obsessed with my children, and I'm so goo goo gaga lovey dovey. But it's so this finding like shared mutuality and feelings and things that you would maybe, if you left them inside, you would hold that unprocessed shame. I mean, maybe that's too deep of a way of saying it, but so
So I loved this book, and I would have loved it if that story wasn't in there. It's got really nice blending of science and stories. When you revealed that you were Jennifer, like I'm like, oh, I need to know this person.
oh
That was
yeah.
like I need to know, and I was like, we're gonna be friends.
I know.
This is,
Wish you lived in
it was just like I just knew it, and I hadn't even read the Allison Wood Brooks part, which is like you have a whole
I have like an ode. I
love
should have called
Allison.
that chapter an ode to Allison.
Well, and it's funny because when I finished it, I emailed her because I'm like, oh, and I don't know that she'd read that, like, or at least she had.
So she's like,
No.
send me, and I just got the physical copies of the book. Let me show it. Let me bring it up.
Yeah.
And so I said, we talked about it, and she's like, no, I'm gonna read it when it's the final physical.
Oh,
yeah.
there you
So
go.
she's not read it.
Yeah, that's what she
That's
said.
so cool that you emailed her.
Yeah, well, I had to, and Norton I know real
Yeah,
well, and
yeah.
and these are. Do you know how we all met?
No, was it a Second City thing?
Yeah, so Jennifer Acker,
Oh, I love
we got
her.
we got connected probably through Adam Grant.
Mm-hmm.
So like Adam has interviewed me for like every book he's written, and I'm never in any of them, which is fine. I'm not bitter about it.
Okay.
And so Jennifer's like, hey, there's a group of academics who are all interested in like comedy, and we got talking. I was like, why don't you come for a weekend in Chicago? My wife Ann and I we'll lead you through like a workshop. We'll go to shows. I don't know why I think I pitched this. She might know differently, but I think that's what happened. So Jennifer and Allison and Mike Norton and Maurice and like all like
what a dream.
it's seriously like dream team.
Yeah.
They show up here, and the first thing we do is take them and leads them through an improv class, and so right away they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And finally, we took them to Luminati's for deep dish pizza. Then they all came to Second City, and we explained the show and all. And so like these have been lifelong friends ever since that happened. We've worked on different things with different folks, but it is what your book is about, which is we took this opportunity to reveal, to share, and in doing so, like our life is so much richer for having known these individuals, and they've led us to amazing places. And I had a boss here once who, after a call, was a biz dev call, was like, hey, you shouldn't talk about your wife in these calls. And I'm like, what are you talking about? First of all, my wife is amazing, and she's worked at Second City longer than I have, and she's got this her second book she just wrote, and she knows it. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I've had people all the time who are like, I love how you talk about your wife. And I'm like, yeah, it's like it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
And so the the whole book is terrific, but I think you had to make that brave choice, and I think it. But it's a brave choice to reveal yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, I'm sure there'll be haters, but haters gonna hate. And I, this book was such great therapy for me. Like, even if nobody buys it, it'll be 100% worth it because it like really, yeah. it really helped me in so many ways, in ways that I didn't know that I needed help. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
also, huge kudos to you that you got Allison and Mike to reveal, because they are like, I've been
yeah.
working on them for years.
Well, and again, when you're improvising,
Yeah.
the first things we teach is, you reserve judgment of self and judgment of others.
Hmm.
You get out of your fear and shame
Hmm.
brain,
Hmm.
because the only way you can improvise freely is in that state. And so
Yeah.
you really, and Charles Lim is a neuroscientist who's done some studies with people. He studied a bunch of Second City people in an fMRI, and showing that when you are
Yeah.
improvising, you are lowering that part of your brain that is trying to protect you
Wow.
from that stuff, and you're
Wow.
open to experience. So you look at Dr. Keltner's stuff on awe.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is connected, and it's exciting for me to have been able to, like, spend decades doing this work without having any idea or interest in that there might be science behind it. And then at this period where I'm no longer interested in doing the day-to-day grind of producing shows,
Uh-huh.
I'm able to explore and unpack what this work is, because I will tell you, the vast amount of people who come to take classes at Second City are not looking to get on our stage or go to Saturday Night Live.
Right.
They are
Right.
using it as therapy.
Wow. Wow. Do they know that they're using it as therapy yet? Yeah.
No,
I love it. I love it.
not at all.
Yeah.
All right, I could talk to you
Me,
forever, but
you too.
we've so let's end the conversation with
Okay.
the yes
Okay.
and story.
Oh,
This
yeah,
feels
yeah,
like
yeah.
a
Okay.
I'm this is a like an easy one for you, I think.
Okay. Well, so the yes and was I I took a phone call from a researcher, Rado Hofstetter. He just kind of cold emailed me, and I was like super busy and slammed. And I was like, oh, I just don't have the bandwidth. But I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. And then it became a beautiful collaboration and friendship. And you never know. I love this saying. This is an Alison Brooks saying. Well, other people say it too, I'm sure, but I learned it from her. It's stuff leads to stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that. If possible, if yes, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful mindset.
The book is called Revealing: The Underrated Power of Oversharing. Leslie John, thank you for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much.